This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you are. And welcome to the Glazov Gang. This is another Daniel Greenfield moment, generously allotted to me by our host, Jamie Glazov. Today, we're going to talk about the two-state solution. The media these days is very, very worried about the two-state solution. Is Trump going to kill the two-state solution? Is Netanyahu going to kill the two-state solution? Is the two-state solution even alive anymore? Let's talk about what the two-state solution is, and just how alive it should be or ought to be. I have a very simple answer to this particular question. Is the two-state solution dead? No, the two-state solution is not dead. Why isn't the two-state solution dead? Because it was never alive to begin with. Obama set up his betrayal of Israel at the UN to save the two-state solution from Trump. The media warns that David Friedman, Trump's pick for ambassador, is so pro-Israel that he will kill the solution. The solution, the two-state solution, means carving a second Islamic terror state out of the living flesh of Israel. What does the two-state solution solve? Absolutely nothing. Is the two-state solution dead? It was never alive to begin with. The two-state solution is a zombie. It's a rotting, shambling corpse of a diplomatic process. If you look downwind for a while of the proceedings, it kind of looked like it might be alive, but up close there was only blood and death. The two-state solution didn't solve anything, and it wasn't in the business of creating two states, not unless you count a Hamas state in Gaza and a Fatah PLO state in the West Bank. What problem was the two-state solution solving? It wasn't a problem of terrorism. Turning over land, weapons, and power to a bunch of terrorists could only make for more terrorism. The consequences of giving terrorists their own country to play with were as predictable as taking a power drill to the bottom of a boat or running a toaster in a bubble bath. The least likely outcome of handing guns to a bunch of homicidal sociopaths was peace. The most likely was murder, and that was exactly as intended. Because what was the problem that the two-state solution was really solving? It was the problem of the existence of Israel. It's the Jewish problem. Spray that lovely two-state solution over an irritating country full of Jews who managed to survive multiple Muslim genocides, apply and wait for as long as it takes until the Jewish problem is solved. Yet again, the two-state solution didn't end the violence, it turned it up. It didn't even create a Palestinian state, but it did a moderately decent job of solving the Jewish problem in the old-fashioned way by killing a whole lot of Jews. It killed thousands of Jews. It filled cemeteries, ethnically cleansed towns and villages, and brought war to Tel Aviv and Jerusalem for the first time in a generation. It turned terror from something that was an aberration into a routine. It made death into a way of life. It endangered the existence of Israel for the first time since the Yom Kippur War in 1973. The two-state solution isn't dead. It is death. The solution has turned children to orphans and left parents weeping at the graves of their daughters. It has covered hilltops in Hamas rockets and sent cities fleeing to bomb shelters. It has ushered in an endless age of wars against terrorists who can't be utterly defeated because that would destroy the two-state solution. And the two-state solution requires an Islamic terror state. If you defeat the Islamic terrorists completely, then you kill the two-state solution. And it's not going to get any better, only worse. We have a complete track record on that. Death is the only thing that the two-state solution has ever accomplished. That's the only thing that it was meant to accomplish. It's all that it will ever accomplish. The two-state solution is a zombie. Its existence has no purpose except death. As long as it goes on moving, it will go on destroying. But, and this is important, like a zombie, the two-state solution is weak. It's slow. It's really easy to escape from it. The only way it can catch you is if you let it. And we've been letting it catch us. Now, in the 90s, the two-state solution looked like a living thing. There were negotiations and big plans and ceremonies and Nobel Prizes and peace songs, and you could ignore the carnage, the bombs going off, and body parts being smeared across sidewalks. But, by the new millennium, the Muslim-centered population in 67 Israel, the so-called Palestinians, for whose benefit the two-state solution had been crafted, guess what they did? When they had elections, they made the same democratic decision that the Egyptians and other Arab Spring countries would later make. They chose Hamas, they chose the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Islamic law that demands that non-Muslims must surrender and be ruled by Muslims as before, or be massacred and subjugated. And then, the zombie solution really began to rot from the head. Now, the two-state solution was kept alive by pretending that Hamas had never won. An illegal takeover by Fatah, PLO, the good Islamic terrorists, who occasionally could pretend to negotiate in exchange for enough billions of dollars from the United States, led to two Islamic terror states. a bad one in Gaza, and a good Islamic terror state in the West Bank. Now, these states, these two terror states, occasionally try to form a united government, but they couldn't even get along with each other and stop killing each other, never mind getting along with Israel. The two-state solution at this point had become a ghoulish joke. Some two-state solutionists urged embracing Hamas. A crazed collection of leftist activist rabbis even signed a petition calling for outreach to the Muslim Brotherhood terror state, despite its charter which called for exterminating all the Jews, which they thought for some reason did not apply to them. Now, Kerry, back when he was in the Senate, aided a cold pink mission to Hamas. Most two-state solutionists, though, just decided to pretend that nothing had gone wrong. The zombie solution was in the best of health. Pay no attention to the stench of decay and the way it keeps trying to eat you. They wanted to strengthen the good Islamic terror state in the West Bank to discredit the bad Islamic terror state in Gaza. Anyone who opposed the good terror state was accused of trying to kill the precious two-state solution, which had already killed more people than the average natural disaster. But then the good terror state stopped even pretending to negotiate. Now, if you've ever watched Weekend at Bernie's, you know what comes next. Since the terrorists wouldn't negotiate, Obama and Kerry just propped up the corpse of the two-state solution on their shoulders, Weekend at Bernie style, and tried to pretend it was still alive by negotiating with Israel on behalf of the terrorists without telling either Israel or the terrorists. And then the good terrorists, quote-unquote, rejected the deal that Obama and Kerry got for them, and Obama and Kerry solved the problem the way that the solutionists, including Bill Clinton, have been solving it for decades. They blamed Israel. Why did they do that? Because the insane logic of the two-state solution demanded it, because think about the two-state solution is. An Islamic terror state is a solution offered by the two-state solution. If you blame the terrorists, you undermine the credibility of the solution. If you admit the terrorists don't even want to negotiate, you kill the two-state solution. Then how you justify destroying Israel? The great two-state solution began incrementally with an autonomous territory of disarmed terrorists. Then it led to a two-state solution, cutting Israel in half, with armed terrorists inside Israel. The next stage is a one-state solution, which Israel is going to have to take in every single Muslim claiming to be a refugee. And if you've seen what happened in Germany and Europe, you already know what comes next. But you can't get from one stage to the next without blaming Israel when the previous stage fails, as it was always intended to fail. Each planned failure advances a more extreme incarnation of the solution. This is how the left always does things. We've seen examples of this with Obamacare. And this goes all the way up to the final solution. Each failure has to be justified in Israel. Has to be blamed on Israel to justify an even more extreme solution. Each attack on Israel, like Obama's UN treachery, is justified as a defense of the two-state solution. As long as the lie that the two-state solution is a pro-Israel policy lives, it can be weaponized as a pro-Israel attack on Israel. And eventually the two-state solution zombie is going to kill Israel, and then it's going to die, unless we kill it first. The two-state solution has not solved anything, it is the problem. And now it's time to solve the problem of the two-state solution. Like the rest of the jihad, the two-state solution is not a potent threat. It is a lie that we have become too weak to resist. Now think about what a lie is. Lies die when we see them for what they are. Remember the old Monty Python bit? The two-state solution is the dead parrot. The shopkeepers of the press who keep trying to sell us its stiff, unmoving body insist that the peace process is just pining for the Norwegian fjords of the Oslo peace accords. Feed it some more of Israel and it'll fly back to life. It's never worked before, but there's always a 10,000th time. Lies are zombies. They are mimicries of the truth that feed off all we wish to be true. The two-state solution is a parasite that thrives by feeding off our hopes and fears, our optimism on the one hand, and our inability to imagine an alternative on the other. When we see the lie for what it is, when we turn our hopes and fears to sustaining what we truly care about, then it will fall. Real solutions already exist. The two-state solution, however, never existed. There will be only one state in Israel. The question for the future is whether it will be a Jewish state or an Islamic terror state. This has been another Daniel Greenfield moment. Thank you very much for listening and for supporting the Glazov Gang. Subscribe to the Glazov Gang YouTube channel and help support the Glazov Gang by going to the site and donating to support it. And thank you very much for listening and for putting up with my diction. Have a very good night.